Hi guys, welcome back to the cookie jar. Today we are starting the second book in the series, The Strawberry Shortcake Murder by Joanne Fluke. It is the official second book. And today we're going to be making the first recipe, which is the Strawberry Shortcake Swensen. So for this recipe, you're actually making 3 separate parts. You'll be making the pound plus cake, which has to be made, it says, pound plus cake must chill for 48 hours. Make it 2 days before you plan to serve. You can also bake it, cool it, wrap it in plastic wrap, and then in foil and freeze it until you need it. This recipe makes 2 cakes. Each cake serves 6 people. So you are going to have to make it in advance. It does say you can freeze it. So it doesn't matter how far in advance you need to make it, you can freeze it. And then, of course, you're going to be doing the strawberries, which it says to de-stem them and to basically put them in the fridge. You can add sugar if they're too tart. And then you're making the Hannah's Whipped Creme Fraiche, which is basically making a whipped cream mixed with sour cream and then white and brown sugar. So what we need, we'll be doing the pound plus cake right now. You're going to need 3 sticks, 1.5 cups of softened butter, 2 cups of white sugar, 4 eggs, 1 cup of sour cream. You can substitute unflavored yogurt for a lighter cake, half a teaspoon of baking powder, 1 teaspoon of vanilla, 2 cups cake flour. Do not sift, use it right out of the box. So it also says it serves 12 or 6 if they ask for second helpings. So that is what we are going to be doing right now. Eventually, I'll be doing the strawberries and the creme fraiche, but that'll be 2 days from now. Later in the video, but 2 days from now. Okay, so everything is prepped in the kitchen. Let's get in there and get baking. So this is all the stuff that we are going to need for the pound plus cake. We've got our butter, our sugar, our sour cream, our 4 eggs, our 2 cups of cake flour, our 1 teaspoon of vanilla, and our half a teaspoon of baking powder. Okay, so we're back in the kitchen. So the first thing you want to do is preheat your oven to 325. And then we're taking 2 9-inch baking pans, and it says to butter and flour them. It specifically says not to use any kind of spray, Pam or baking spray. Now I know they make a spray that's got the flour in it. I actually have some, but it specifically said not to use stuff like that. So what I'm gonna do is I have this tablespoon of butter. I'm just gonna rub it on the inside of my pans, and then I'm going to sprinkle in flour and run that around. And I think that will be what it wants done. It doesn't actually say. Just says butter and flour. I think we're pretty well buttered on that one. And now for the second one, we are buttered. All right, so what I'm gonna do, I'm just going to sprinkle in flour. That's probably way too much. And then tap it around the sides. And once I feel like it's coated, I'm just going to dump the rest into the next pan. And we have something like that. And I'm just going to do the same with this one, which, although it looked like too much at first, I'm starting to think I don't have enough. Oh, no, we're good. Okay. And then I'm just gonna dump out the excess. There's our second one. And we're just gonna set these guys aside for right now until we need them later. The next thing that we are going to do is take our 3 sticks of butter and we're going to cream them with the sugar. So butter and sugar in the mixer. And then I'm gonna let that beat around for probably 2 minutes until it looks nice and fluffy. And then we are going to add the eggs. Sorry if I get weird with the language. I just finished reading, oh gosh, what was it named? It was one of the Reese Witherspoon books. Oh my gosh, I loved it so. Oh, the secrets we kept. Lots of Russian in that book. So in my head, I've got Russian going on. Okay, and the sugar. All right, so we've reached cream consistency. So now we're just adding in 1 egg at a time. And once that all gets mixed in, we'll add the next. All right, now I'm just gonna scrape down the top and the beaters, because you know how things love to stick. So the next thing we're doing is we are adding in the sour cream, the baking powder, and the vanilla. So that is the 1 teaspoon of vanilla, the 1/2 teaspoon of baking powder, and the 1 cup of sour cream. If anybody actually makes this recipe with the yogurt, if you could, you know, comment about how it comes out, that would be pretty cool. And we're just gonna mix this up. All right, so it says to mix in the flour 1 cup at a time and beat until it's smooth and has no lumps. So there's 2 cups of flour. So I'm just gonna add in 1/2 and then add in the rest. I'm not gonna actually measure out 1 cup. I'm just gonna eyeball 1/2 and then we'll go on. I live in the South, and I don't know if it's just being grown up in Virginia and then in the South my adult life. I've really seen this done 2 different ways. I've seen it done with an angel food cake, and I've just seen it done with like a biscuity crumpet kind of thing. So it's gonna be a little bit different seeing it done with a cake. Now I'm curious how this cake is gonna come out. If it's just gonna be like a regular vanilla cake, or if it's gonna be closer towards a angel food, or if it's gonna be closer to a biscuit. It's gonna be interesting to see how that turns out. All right, I'm gonna add the rest of the flour. And while I have it turned off, I'm gonna scrape down the top because it still has some butter granules and sugar granules up here. And I just wanna get everything mixed in. It does say in the recipe that you can make this by hands, but it takes some muscle, but it looks like a pretty light cake batter. So I don't know why it would take muscle to do this. I could understand the creme fraiche, because I know a lot of the older generations, before we had electric mixers, used to whip it up with a whisk, but that'd be the only thing I can really see that would be hard to do. All right, so we look clean. We look lump-free, I should say. What we're going to do now is we're going to pour it into our 2 prepared pans, and we're going to bake it at 325 for 45 to 50 minutes. So after my trying to get them as even as possible, this one is at 1.135 grams, and this one is at 1.137. So that's pretty close. I'm not gonna try to nitpick through the pans just to get them exact. So I'm just going to shake them. Now, I learned a long time ago, gosh knows where, that a lot of people drop the cakes to get them as even and bubble free, but it doesn't say to do that. It just says to pour them in and bake them off. So that is what I'm gonna do. That's what they look like. Here's what they look like before going into the oven, and then we're gonna cool them on a rack for 20 minutes. So while the cake is baking, let's talk for 10 minutes about where this cake gets mentioned in the book, because it is mentioned quite a few times. It actually, Lisa and Hannah are talking about it originally, about the cake and why it sits for 2 days. It's because apparently, now this is in the book, so I don't know if it's actually true, but it says the longer it sits, the heavier it gets. That's what it says. I guess we'll see if it's true in 2 days. And then she's originally making this on camera. Well, assembling it on camera for the Heartland Flour Bake Off because the producer, Mason Kimball, suggested she should do something colorful like Strawberry Shortcake, and she took him for it, and that's what she made. And then it does get a little bit morbid after that because Boyd takes the extra home to his wife, and a couple hours later he's found in the Strawberry Shortcake, and that's what starts Hannah's murder investigation for this set. And well, if you're on this channel, you probably already know Boyd's not a fun guy, so no big loss there. But yeah, those are the mentions of the Strawberry Shortcake in this book. We will see you when the cake's out of the oven. Okay, so they're out of the oven. It's been about 20 minutes. This is what we have, and this is what we have. So it says to run a knife around the outside of them, but if you look really closely, they're completely baked away from the edges. So I don't think I need to do that. It does say to turn them out and let them finish cooling before we wrap them in first plastic wrap and then aluminum foil. And from there, you can either put them in the refrigerator for 48 hours or the freezer until you want to use them. So, oh, there we go. They both pop right out. Well, the second one popped right out. They're not very thick, which I guess doesn't matter. But there we go. Now we just let these finish cooling, probably another 20 to 30 minutes, and then we'll wrap them and refrigerate them. Okay, so the last thing we're going to do for the day is we're going to take our cooled cakes, and it says to first wrap them in plastic wrap, and then a sheet of aluminum foil. One. Boom. That is our 2 cakes wrapped in foil. Now we're just going to pop these in the fridge until 2 days. So here are our reserved 12 to top our slices of cake when they're done. Here is the 2 3/4 boxes of strawberries cut up. So what I'm going to do is, it doesn't say how much sugar to put on top. So I'm just going to give it like 2, maybe 3 teaspoons of sugar is what I'm going to put on mine. And then I'm just going to mix them up. I'm going to pop a lid on them and put them in the fridge for later. So here's what we need to finish the cake. We've got 2 cups of heavy cream, our 12 remaining strawberries to top, the 1/2 cup of white sugar that'll get blended with the cream, the 1/2 cup of brown sugar to sprinkle on top, the 1/2 cup of sour cream that gets lightly mixed into the cream and sugar, our strawberries that top our cake, and half of our cake that we made 2 days ago. So the first thing that we're going to do is we are going to whip together the heavy cream and the white sugar. And it says we want to get that to a firm peak. Okay. So I think that is what we're looking for. It's where it doesn't it sticks, it stays, doesn't bend over. So the next thing that we are supposed to do, now we're going to add in the sour cream, and it says you can do this by hand or by using the lowest speed. I guess we don't want to, I have no idea why they always said that. I don't know, this is what it says. Now this is hard for me because they are both very white. I don't know how exactly you're supposed to know it's blended in. All right, we're gonna call that mixed. Okay, So the next thing we are to do is we are to assemble our masterpiece. Now it does say that this can be, the creme fraiche, this whipped creme fraiche can be made early and then refrigerated before you combine everything. Okay, so just gonna unwrap it. Now it says each one's supposed to serve 6 people. So my guess, that is heavy. That is sturdy. It does say in the book it gets heavier as it sits. Well, that is definitely heavy. Okay, so 6 pieces. I know there's people out there that are very good at figuring size, but I am not. So these are not going to be even. And so to do this, you're going to take a piece, then you add strawberry slices, and then a couple dollops of the creme fraiche, and then a sprinkling of brown sugar, and then a reserved strawberry. And that is how it comes out. And it does look really good. Okay. So I'm gonna get a bit of everything. Cake and strawberries and creme fraiche. That is good. The whipped cream, or the creme fraiche, it tastes like whipped cream, but it's got just a hint of something to it. The sour cream gives it a little bit of a tickle on your tongue. I would say it's something in there, but it's good. And the cake is dense. It is very dense. The cake by itself, I think it'd be too dense to really enjoy, but the creme fraiche gives it a lightness, and the strawberries give it a sweetness, and all together combined, it's really good. I was kind of hesitant with this because I wasn't sure what kind of cake it was going to be, and I wasn't sure about the creme fraiche. I've never made this or had it before, but this is really good. Next week, we're going to be making the second recipe from the book. It's going to be an apricot bread pudding. That'll be an adventure. So if you're interested in seeing that, of course, join us next week. And if you liked the recipe you saw here, the link to the recipe or where to buy the book is in the description below. Have a good week.